All right, back in here on GCR. Well, we do this every year with our next guest, who we like a whole heck of a lot. He, of course, covers the NFL at The Athletic, and every year he talks to those around the game and gets their thoughts on all of the NFL's quarterbacks and then puts them into tiers for his annual quarterback tiers column. And yes, Lamar Jackson this year dropped from tier 1 to tier 2. What the hell? I don't really care that much. Mike Sando joining us now here on GCR. Mike, I always appreciate it. I love having this conversation with you. Thank you for taking the time for us, sir.
Absolutely. I love it too, although it feels like we have the same conversation every
It
year
does.
on Lamar. So we'll see if we can put a different spin on it this time.
Mike, the difficulty is, like, in a way, even doing this with you, I'm doing this with you because of you, right? Like,
Yeah.
my thought all summer has been, I'm just sick of it. Like, you can't get me to try to talk about Lamar Jackson being
Yeah.
rated in the 60s in the NFL. I don't care. I care about one thing: is Lamar Jackson going to win a Super Bowl or not? He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. There's no debate about these things. I don't care. But
Yep.
the only thing that jumped out at me, because truth be told, dropping from number 4 to number 5, I mean, like, come on, man, what are we talking about? The only thing that was interesting to me is you still hear some of the things about Lamar Jackson, like the coach that told you if he's not running, he's just not special. And like that part of it is the stuff that, like, feels like what we heard at the beginning of his career, that we just have a mountain of evidence that proves is not the case. That Lamar Jackson, I think he should run more. I think he's way better when he runs, but we know he can pick you apart as a passer of the football. Like, he
Yeah,
does
I
it
think
constantly.
absolutely. Yeah, and that's why I think he's so high. I mean, he's been in the top 10 7 years in a row. I think he's gone seventh, seventh, 10th, seventh, fourth, fourth, fifth. So the last 3 years, I think rightfully so, he's shifted into the top five with a big push into tier one. He's very similar to Philip Rivers, 5 straight years in tier two, gets to tier one once and then back to tier two. Matt Ryan, he's tier two for 3 years. MVP gets him into tier one, then five more tier two, always a top 10 quarterback, right? Justin Herbert started off tier two. He got into tier one. Now he's gone back to tier two for 3 straight years. Andrew Luck was the same way. Russell Wilson was similar to that. So they're all, you know, uh, top quarterbacks in the league. I think that I do believe that Lamar Jackson is not feared if I believe this, he's feared for his ability to kill you as a runner, and he's more respected for what he's been able to do as a passer. And if you don't have to worry about the running part being dynamic, I don't think the passing is as special as it is for Stafford or Burrow, to name two. And I
So,
think Josh Allen will not be in tier one if he if
sure.
he if he stops being the dual threat.
I think Lamar Jackson, when he runs, is Superman. I think when he did what he did a year ago, and for whatever reason, health wise, just not wanting to run as much, I don't know. When he decides to do that, he's unbelievably good. He's not Superman. He's not the
I think
greatest.
he's believably good.
Yeah. Okay.
It's believably good. He's top five.
Um, the Burrow thing, I think, is the thing that rankles people,
Sure.
because if there's a fair knock on Lamar from a year ago, it's that he was hurt, right? And that seemed to impact him. Joe Burrow is always hurt. Joe Burrow doesn't play full seasons ever. How does that, like, mystique
Well,
still exist with Joe
I
Burrow?
think Joe Burrow played a full season in 2024 and then missed 5 games last year, right?
Yeah.
So Burrow probably here's what Burrow benefits from: super elite as a passer, which is the most respected thing in football. It just is. Super elite as a passer. He has been to a Super Bowl. So he's crossed that off his list with a really, you wouldn't say a great organization, right? I think one thing we see with these quarterbacks is if Matthew Stafford stays in Detroit, does he fully blossom in every way to be a tier one quarterback? I mean, maybe not. Now
Mm-hmm.
Campbell came in and changed it, but to do what Burrow's been able to do at that place, which is totally different than these model franchises, which Baltimore's one of them, I think helps him in this thing. I do think the point you're making though is totally fair. Like I could see, like if Burrow was at the top of tier two because people have concerns about his injuries, and they really haven't been able to do much lately as a team. That that's I wouldn't. That's what I'd be saying to explain that on a Cincinnati radio show.
It feels like there's almost like a pass that's given to Burrow for the injuries because we know how bad the offensive line is, right? Like the Cincinnati's offensive line is dreadful.
Yeah,
At
I think
this,
it helps Herbert too to be in a
sure,
place like the Chargers where you can obviously see his talent. The Chargers have had Philip Rivers and Herbert for 20 years, and they haven't won a division title since the 2000s.
isn't that nuts? Isn't that
Division
nuts?
title since the 2000s. So I think, one of the good things about one of the hard things about football is sort of the assignment of credit, right?
Well, and
hard
Mike, I
it's a
think that
harder game to do that in.
no doubt, and I think that that's part of the Burrow conversation too. Is that like yes, the organization's a disaster, but at the same time, he's also got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins to throw the football to, which
No
is a
doubt.
luxury that no one else in the league has to have a duo like that.
No doubt. And I think in some ways it holds them back because they could stand to be a little bit more of a balanced team. And we're going to see this year too. And Joe Burrow will probably have great numbers again. I'm still not convinced how far they're going to go.
No, I have the
Yeah,
same
I'm not
question.
convinced how far the Ravens are going to go in any year either.
That's two of us. I mean, that's the reality until they prove
But I
it.
do think Lamar last year, I think Lamar proved for the first time, not this season 25 and 24, he proved that he could carry the team when the defense wasn't good. And so that's why he went overwhelmingly into tier one. I think it would be fair for him to stay there probably a year, get a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. Instead, 22 votes in tier one and 28 in tier two puts him right across that borderline.
Mike Sando is with us here on GCR. We've linked up QB tiers on our Twitter account at Glenn Clark Radio for you to check it out. Mike, one of the things that's it's interesting beyond, I really don't have any more.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I just
there's no
don't
new
have it.
ground
I
there.
don't have
It
it
is what
in
it is.
me. I
Yeah.
don't. But I think it is interesting that it still feels like there's a reluctance to move up the new guard of quarterbacks versus the old guard of quarterbacks that even after, a year where and I know that he's not unanimous anymore and there was a change, but even
Yeah.
after a year where Patrick Mahomes got hurt and had looked human, very human leading up to that, he's still number one. There's still that reverence towards Patrick Mahomes, and I think that's deserved. And this next group of guys, the Caleb Williams, the Bo Nix, there's still sort of a, yeah, they look good, but we're
Yeah.
just not ready to go there yet.
Well, Caleb moved up a ton from 23rd to 11. I think there
Yeah.
was big questions about him just because he took so many sacks last year. His attitude, I think, and just the way that he's approached things, let's face it, raised some questions about him. Just not all the coaches probably like that. But I think last year he showed in big moments and also by reducing his sacks that, he may be able to get his talent may actually translate in a more meaningful way. So I do think there's typically a delay in quarterback tiers. Like I think there's typically not a huge overreaction. I'll give you an example. Like C.J. Stroud debuted pretty high and then fell off, but only moved down like one spot, but then fell off again and like he moved down 10 spots. That sort of a thing tends to happen with a little bit of a lag in there. So Jaden Daniels was one who came in super high and then had a rough injury year. And he fell, I guess he fell from 6th to 13th, but 6 was pretty darn high.
You point out like CJ Stroud. I think there's a lot of questions about whether or not he is right. Like, is he really the guy at this point? And obviously, it's a huge year for him. What was the one that was most interesting to you? Like, what was the one that you cover this league, you dive into data the way that some folks don't. Obviously, this isn't your list. This is their list.
Yeah.
What was most interesting or maybe most different than what you expected going into this?
I mean, a little bit of is Dak Prescott moving up 5 spots. I mean, he's been playing forever. It's not like they had a big breakthrough in the playoffs. He had a really good year with good talent around him, but he got just about as many tier one votes this year as he's gotten in the history of him being in this, which is like his whole career. Um, and I realize it's not like some of that's just moving around within a few spots. It doesn't mean that he had this huge, massive jump, but it was a big jump. I think he improved by almost half a tier. up to a 2.36 average. So I think there's an appreciation in the league for some of these quarterbacks who are a little bit older school in terms of they're perceived to be kind of running the show at the line of scrimmage. I think there used to be a ton of those guys in the league when there were more veterans in the league.
That's
And
interesting.
the position's gone super young. And now I think we see some really schemed up guys. I mean, guess who the number 3 all-time player is in the history of the league in yards per attempt? It's
Is it?
Jimmy Garoppolo. And Brock Purdy is, putting up these great numbers, but there's always like those guys don't really get the full credit
I get.
because of Kyle Shanahan. So I think people look at a Dak Prescott and be like, hey, Jerry Jones, imperfect there. They haven't been able to get over the top for almost 30 years. So it's probably not just Dak. And yet Dak across all of these coaches, when he's healthy and on the field, uh, runs the show in a way. He's a good 2-minute quarterback. Uh, you know, I think there's a little bit of a longing in the league for that. I'll just put it that way. And I think it helped Dak.
That's interesting. I've grown a bit of a reverence. It's weird the way that you're phrasing it. I feel like I was the social media. This guy he doesn't win. It doesn't matter. And I've grown kind of a reverence for just how consistent he is. And so maybe I feel a little bit of what other people are feeling, that like we've maybe not given Dak Prescott enough credit. And maybe that's a feeling that I have because of the way that people talk about Lamar Jackson. Like we talk too much about the faults and not consider the strengths enough on the flip side.
Yeah, I think for somebody like Lamar, when you have multiple, Lamar won MVP twice and didn't go into tier one after those years. So, that's confounding to people.
It's insane.
And you end up talking about the negative when the whole time he's been really highly regarded.
Mike, what about because it was interesting hearing someone reference that they still put him into tier one because, they expect that Declan Doyle's going to do things. I wonder what coaching changes, how they typically reflect in the feedback that you get as you're doing QB tiers.
Yeah, I
And
think that was probably an outlier view from
okay,
somebody who's more familiar with Declan Doyle. Most people would be like, hey, it's a new coordinator. It's
yeah, I got
probably
some
more on,
questions. Yeah,
they're going to become pointing at Lamar this year if they don't advance in the playoffs. They got rid of Harbaugh, right? There's no offensive coordinator that people are trying to run out of town right now. People got tired of Greg Roman or whatever. At the same time, I don't think Declan Doyle is necessarily being held up as a
like a
superstar
Wunderkind.
yet.
Yeah, yeah.
Superstar yet. So if it goes sideways this year, I think Declan Doyle will bear some of that. But uh, I think the people that do know him are impressed by him.
I was actually also wondering on the flip side, which is like what Jackson Dart, for example, who I mean, we all saw good things. I thought John Harbaugh was going to New York the moment, unless the Packers job became available, because they had pieces in place, and I think we all saw it. But I thought, I was a little surprised by how high he was on this list, and I wondered if some of that is we think there are adults in the room now, and we think that good things are coming.
I just feel like the number one thing. So if you look at the guys out of that class, it would be Jackson Dart, Tyler Shuck,
Hushuk,
and
yeah.
who's the other one? There's one other one.
Ward, right? That's
Ward, yeah,
yeah.
Ward. So I feel like the order was Dart, Ward, and Shook, and I feel like that was in the order of how much people saw those guys probably.
Okay.
Dart playing more in a big market and was notable for how he played. Ward in Tennessee, no one's really paying attention to, but he played the whole year. And then Shook in New Orleans only played about half the year. I think like the order could easily be Shook number one of those three next year. I I feel the inconsistency. To me, the inconsistency of Dart is not sustainable to have the Gus Frerotte enthusiasm where you're going to go bang your
It's
head in the wall after the
insane.
touchdown.
Yes, it's insane.
Like he's not going to make it.
Yes, he
Like
at
the
some
thing
point.
about Lamar, people worried about Lamar. Lamar knows how to play football. He knows how to run. And even when he sometimes cuts back and welcomes a hit and you go, what's he doing? Like he just has a feel for it. That Jackson Dart to me looks like Smash Up Derby. Like
I
He looks like the Cam Scattaboo of
there
quarterbacks.
is a
Cam
real
Scattaboo's
chance that
doing
at
a
some point the two of them are going to run it, helmet to helmet into each other, celebrating something, and ruin both.
yes,
Like it's a real.
and they're both going to be out. So, and what was the thing that there was just something the other day that they were writing about on a dart that's escaping me now. It's just like part of playing this position is realizing that you hold the fates of dozens, if not more, people in your hands.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself. Take care of the ball. You can't just have this attitude like I'm Brian Bosworth, or you know what I mean, or I'm just a wild man out there and let's go play. No, you're not. You have to be the steady thing that everyone can count on. I don't think I'd be very curious if Dart's going to make it.
Are we not respecting what Sam Darnold did enough? Are we being too reluctant to give him credit?
See, I don't think so because if you look at the easiest places to win the last couple of years, they're always going to, well, in any year, it's where they play great defense and
Right.
they're great on special teams. So the Vikings last year without him went 9-8. Now look, if Darnold's there, they probably win 12 or 13 games. But they were like replacement level quarterback play last year, not even backup level, and went 9-8. And I think a lot of teams, if you look at how Seattle played, they were counting on Darnold occasionally to really spin it, and he did that a few times. But for the most part, they're going to run the ball, play defense, and ask him to hit some play actions and make a couple big boy throws. But they're not asking him to do what Joe Burrow does.
Yeah.
And so I think that's fine for him to like. I think it would have been disrespectful to put him in tier 3,
Okay.
but I'm fine with tier 2 for him.
Okay. I can listen to that. I can listen to that entirely. And I worry that I'm too disrespectful of it, but it was interesting to me that was sort of the feeling that everybody else had as well. Mike, if I could, just before I let you go, there's people in Baltimore that are reacting negatively to, and not a lot. Most everybody understands how this works with contracts, but Zay Flowers gets a boatload of money. He gets over $100 million in guaranteed money yesterday, which for a non-quarterback is still a wild number for a lot of people. And it's easy to say, well, he's not Justin Jefferson, he's not Jamar Chase, he's not one of these big outside prototype number one receivers. But I just think his value is so significant to what the Ravens do, and like you can't get him at a lesser number. That's just the way it works when someone's productive. He was 7th in receiving yards a year ago. I don't think they had a choice but to pay him like this. I'd love for him. I'd love for the Ravens to have Jamar Chase. He's not available. Like this is what you can have, and it's really good.
It's one of those that really caught me by surprise for those same reasons. Like, wow, that's a lot for Zay Flowers. My initial reaction without thinking about it was kind of like, wow, what are they doing? But I think you just also have to realize that these numbers have grown so much because the cap's gone so much. So when you hear somebody's at $30 or $40 million, it's not what it used to be. And, you have to adjust to that. I do think there's a debate to be had about building your team, how much to pay wide receivers, when to pay them. Would it be better off going a different route? But I kind of agree with you that he's a dynamic player in his own way. And if you're going to build around him and use him and feel like he's super important to what you're doing, that's probably the price you're going to pay. It's real easy to say, don't do it and just go draft and find the
Mm-hmm.
next guy. But when you don't pay your best players, I think there's a cost for that too.
Well, and also the Ravens don't exactly have a great history in drafting wide receivers either. Obviously, Zay
Yeah.
Flowers has worked out, but short of that, it's pretty bleak.
Somebody put up a thing, and this is cherry picking a little bit. I saw something like, him and Justin Jefferson last 20 games, and it was pretty similar
Yeah,
numbers. Now, look,
yeah.
there's variables in there.
They don't have a
And
quarterback in Minnesota,
I
right?
would just as soon, I think we would probably take Justin Jefferson
Yes.
between the two. But, the production is the production too. And uh, it's probably one of those that is a better signing than it looks like initially.
At Sando NFL is how you follow him. And of course, go to The Athletic right now to check out QB tiers. Mike Sando, I wish I had more venom. I wish I could do that.
Hey,
I
I
get it.
appreciate you having me on. And, I think, I think it just sort of is what it is.
Yep.
And I think you're right to be a little weary. I'm a little weary of it too, just dwelling down. That's why we talk about the other quarterbacks too.
I think it's interesting. Mike, always appreciate you, man. We'll be in touch as the season goes on. Thanks so much for
I
taking
hope
the
so.
time for
Thank you.
us.
Uh-huh.